Okay, so Joshua, my eldest, he started presenting with symptoms, specifically colicky symptoms, which we thought was just normal. When we started introducing formula, he was not able to tolerate cow's milk formula, which we then knew was a cow's milk protein allergy at that time. And then we tried a soya formula, which caused severe vomiting. So then he was also diagnosed with a soy protein allergy. So when he was a young child, he was severely aggressive, which was abnormal. And we tested him, and the test came back positive for sodium benzoate, which is a preservative. And upon elimination of that preservative, his behavior changed completely. It was then that I noticed that ingredients really make an impact on children's behavior as well. So Joshua, the eldest, later outgrew his food allergies. Around about the age of 5 to 6, he could tolerate both cow's milk and soy. However, his sensitivity to preservatives remained even in his teenage years. If both parents are allergic, which me and my husband both are, your chances of having an allergic child is quite high. So by the age of 2 weeks, I noticed that Eben presented with very similar symptoms as Joshua. So I was breastfeeding Eben. However, even after eliminating cow's milk, soya, peanuts, wheat, and egg, his symptoms didn't resolve. He struggled to gain weight. He was pale, and it was really tough. So we were really desperate, and it was one of the most difficult years that we have ever experienced. He was only diagnosed by the age of 1 year with a very rare allergic syndrome called FPIES. FPIES is food protein-induced enterocolitis syndrome. He was unable to tolerate any food by the age of 8 months. He was still only consuming formula that didn't contain any corn, because we had realized that corn was one of the main food causing symptoms. And the impact of having a corn allergy is really quite severe because it's present in so many processed foods. So my journey really started, and my interest grew with Eben's diagnosis of FPIES. Meah was born in 2016, and of course we had hoped that she would not be allergic, but she was. However, she was only allergic to cow's milk. I had eliminated cow's milk during the breastfeeding period, and 3 months later I could actually again consume cow's milk, and she was fine. She was still allergic to cow's milk when she consumed it herself, but she could tolerate the cow's milk protein through my breast milk. Her journey was a little bit different because she was quite sensitive to food additives, specifically artificial food colorants. And because the tests available for food additives isn't always, firstly it's very expensive, but also it's not always accessible or necessarily accurate. So her behavior was really affected. She was very aggressive and very, very irritable. So when we removed artificial food colorants, it was then that she didn't present with those symptoms anymore, and her behavior returned to normal. By the age of 2, she started presenting with the following symptoms. She had lost the ability to control her bowel movements. We had introduced a new cereal, and I noticed that every time she would consume that cereal, that specific cereal, that her symptoms would worsen. I didn't even know what TBHQ was at that point in time. I would read a food label, but I would completely just read over it. It's a synthetic antioxidant, but it is not well researched. So I couldn't find any scientific evidence on it causing something like fecal incontinence. However, we started eliminating TBHQ, and just a few weeks later, the fecal incontinence stopped. So living with food allergies as a family has a really big impact on quality of life, and specifically moms are at increased risk of depression because you don't sleep enough, you've got a baby that's always unhappy, you don't know what's going on, and during that time we really approached so many different forms of help, and we didn't really get the answers that we needed. And the impact on a child as well is really tough. And it takes education, and it takes community around you that understand those challenges to really be able to better deal with those circumstances. The fact that I understand what families go through, I have such a driven passion that I want to help families with a similar situation than we had.